Hello and welcome into episode 134 of the Stomp the Bus show. I'm your host, Mark Harris, and we have a special guest, a guest
Ooh,
who wasn't always a guest on this show. He is Colton Dodgson, fantasy football extraordinaire, guru for football guys.
very
Colton, how
kind.
goes it? You're now living out in Lake Havasu City, essentially.
Pretty
Full of a
much.
surprise.
Yeah, about halfway there.
Yeah. Oh,
Um, no, but I mean that you have continued to keep track of the episode number. So props to you for that. Um, and far too kind of an introduction. Football, what did you say? Fantasy football extraordinaire?
extraordinaire
Which
slash guru.
okay, yeah. Really overselling it. I just try to not mess up my drafts too bad. So that's really what I aim to do every day.
Well, that's better than most people who play fantasy football. Slight tangent here. I saw a video, a clip on Instagram. I think it was from 2 years ago, and it's this guy. He's like talking to this guy after their draft. I'll send it to you later if you haven't seen it. But he's like, the first two guys you drafted are suspended for 17 total games, and you drafted another kid who got shot. And at
Man,
first,
it's
what's crazy is like, oh, that was Ricky Pearsall, and then in the comments, it was actually the Washington running back Brian Robinson Jr. So let's stop shooting NFL players, please.
yeah. I was
Um,
gonna say, man, it's a pretty topical reference to make. Not the shooting part, but the suspensions and lack thereof. We had news on Rushy Rice come down today that his hearing isn't going to be until like mid-season or September 30th, not mid-season.
how will the Chiefs
But
survive? How will they
yeah,
survive?
and then the Quinshawn Judkins, there won't be
Oh, right.
any charges pursued against him, or the charges are going to be dropped. So
Yeah.
a lot came out today, man, and it's just trying to navigate that. And then Isaiah Bond, the Texas receiver, who
Oh,
we
that's right.
probably remember well from that
Well, he
Peach
didn't do
Bowl that
anything
we were.
against us.
No, but
Yeah.
he was on the field. Anytime I hear about a Texas player, I get PTSD. So had to make that comparison real quick, but he signs with the Browns too, which was incredibly
Oh, okay.
fitting. Um, but yeah, man, crazy news day, and
Right.
just trying to keep track of it all. But again, topical reference to make, right? They didn't get shot, but there are tracking suspensions and non-suspensions, and that's an
Oh man.
art all in and of itself when it comes to fantasy football.
Yeah, because it's just so many players, right? You have 32 teams, and you have like seven guys on each team that are relevant in fantasy, maybe more. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
even actually more than seven. Yeah.
we have two guys on staff at Football Guys. Drew Davenport, shout out to him. He provides. I think he's a practicing attorney, like during the day, right?
Wow.
And he provides legal insight on all of this stuff for us
Oh, that's actually
as it comes
really,
down.
yeah,
Which like you don't think about it, and then it's kind of like, huh. I wish I knew what all of this meant in the grand scheme of like how does this translate to a suspension, and then Drew's always ready with the whole this is what this means. This is how this affects it. It's crazy. So we have some. I feel like we're spoiled with the insight we get, and then we have Adam as well, Adam Hutchinson, who's like the injury. He's a doctor,
Oh,
and he
okay.
gives us all
I was
the
gonna
all
make a
the
joke about that. I was gonna be like, you
or
guys need
a
to hire
physical
Dr. James
therapist.
Langley.
Yeah,
But
it's physical therapist, a doctor. I don't want to mess up his title. I'm sure he'll listen to this, but
doctor, that's
um, he
whatever.
he has a he's in tune with medical insights. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So he's always providing insight on how long when the coaches are like, we'll take it day by day. It's like this is probably what this actually means. So we're
Yeah.
pretty spoiled in terms of the insights we can glean from some of these guys, all super sharp guys. And yeah, so always trying to pick their brains as far as like how long is it, what does this mean, that sort of thing.
Before I actually have a question about that, but I do have
Yeah,
to say, please like and subscribe. on YouTube, rate and review on your podcast platform of choice, and remember to follow the College Huddle Podcast Network. A lot of good stuff by those network podcasts. Back to the football guys, doctor / physical therapist that you guys have.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get his actual title, but go ahead.
Okay. I'll start with the general NFL and then one about ASU.
Physical therapist. I just
Okay.
found it. It was in his Twitter bio. Yeah, he's a physical
Okay.
therapist, and he provides injury analysis for us, and he does an awesome job. Him and Drew Davenport. Drew does an awesome job too. So shout out to them.
What does he think about Stafford?
You know, there has been so much. I feel like our group chat is like our company, like it's like Slack, but it's something else. Is moving at like a mile a minute right now. So when something comes down, like the Stafford thing, somebody asks him and he chimes in and provides like a really detailed explanation. And I don't always catch them, and I might have missed the Stafford one.
It
But
sounds bad.
the Stafford thing is weird because I recorded a show today, and I was like, until he is not on the field for week 1, I am not operating as if Matthew Stafford is going to miss any time. Like,
Okay.
and again, I'm not a doctor, obviously,
Right.
but he's the toughest dude, one of the
Yeah.
toughest guys in the NFL, probably. And I mean, everybody hits their breaking point, but Sean McVay keeps saying we've got time. It is concerning he didn't come back Monday, but I don't know, man. It's until he's not on the field week 1, I'm going to be like, he's probably going to at least try to play, whether that means he makes it or not.
That's
Through
fair.
an extended period. Who knows? But
Well, and it's not like he needs training camp that much.
no, exactly. Exactly. That's where it's also like you've got a veteran, a guy who obviously has earned a little bit of equity in this league and can take some practice
Yeah.
off. So not only that, but I think this system in terms of how suited it is for guys or for Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams. Obviously, Matthew Stafford is going to be able to run it better than anybody, but in terms of fantasy, I don't know how significant the drop off would be with Jimmy G. It's obviously not going to be as good, but it's not like if you're drafting Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams, all of a sudden those guys are going to be,
Useless.
mid
Yeah.
wide receiver 2 flex guys. So
Yeah.
there's your little fantasy football
Yeah.
departure for you.
Porn star Jimmy.
Yeah.
Best Stephen A. Smithism.
That's Devontae Adams' best friend too. So
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, for both of our NFL teams, like the Stafford news is extremely relevant. Extremely more so for mine and Cardinals fans listening in this. But yeah, so
can I
that'll be
say
interesting
something
to
about your
see
Seahawks real quick?
that we're gonna have the best defense in the NFL.
I was gonna say I think that offense is like sneakily well put together. And I don't know if I put that right
I understand
or
what you're
put that
saying.
correctly. But like you go down the list, right? And you look at kind of what a Clint Kubiak offense is going to look like and the pieces that offense would need. You want to see the offensive line come along a little bit, right? But
Gray
if
Zabel's
you
looking good.
if you look right, and they invested in it,
Yeah.
and maybe it's a little better than we anticipate. But if you look at the pieces, it's like JSN is going to be the perfect sort of like flanker Z receiver.
Yep.
Right. Cooper Kupp is going to be awesome as like your slot bunch type of guy. Right. And then if Torrey Holton is something too, as
He's
sort of
been
your
balling out at camp.
yeah,
Yeah.
as sort of your like X tethered to the line type of guy. And then the 2 running backs, man, like
I know.
Darnold, I think can run that system well enough.
Yep.
I think they're going to be sneaky this year offensively, and then I mean the defense is good too. So
Well, that's the thing.
I'm not down on your Hawks.
They don't have to go into every game being like, we need to score 31 points. It's like we can get to 20 and 7 times out of 10 we'll win, and
that's not a shootout division either.
No.
So
no. What's
I
funny
think
about
you'll
the
be
NFC
okay.
West is like none of the teams are bad, but none of them are like world beaters either. Like I could see every team, like winner is 10-7, fourth place team is 7-10.
They're all built very similarly too.
Yeah.
Like
And
these teams that want to.
all of them have pretty
Yeah.
good coaching staffs too. Like the card, like Gannon, like he's clearly just a solid NFL coach. Maybe he's not great, but he's solid.
You know my feelings on Jonathan Gannon, but I got to give credit where credit's due. He seems to have been the right guy over there. But
He might be a better
it's
coach than D coordinator, honestly.
yeah, and it's wild because all of these teams are constructed similarly in that
Yeah.
they all want to establish the run. They want that to be their identity, and then they want to be able to allow that to open up what they want, what they try to do throwing the ball. So it's going to be one of those divisions where all of the divisional games are between the like 17 to 24 range,
Yeah.
some 24-20s mixed in there, that sort of thing. So truthfully, I wouldn't be shocked with any outcome. I think
Yeah.
the Rams are probably the favorites, but
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
with the Stafford stuff, you never really know, man. And I wouldn't be shocked realistically. I will say this. I think the most shocking outcome for me would probably be the Seahawks winning that division, but I also don't know how shocking it would be. If that makes sense. That's
Yeah,
how
I get what
like
you're saying. Well, because
that's
they're all
how
so similar teams, right? Yeah, they're all
yeah.
probably like between 10 and 20 in the NFL. So,
There's so much
um,
parity in that division, so
yeah,
it'll be fun.
for sure, for sure. Anyway, okay, the ASU question I had is like Scadaboo, like what's because he's got the hamstring injury, correct? So do
Yeah.
they just like is that serious or is it like,
Well, he's
you know,
missed a ton of camp time from what
yeah,
I've seen, which isn't great. And a lot of reporting has also pointed out that he wasn't necessarily seeing a whole lot of work with the ones before he went
mm,
down. So, obviously you have to glean all of this information from camp reports and things like that. I'm not in New York, right? But it seems like this is going to be a situation where Tyrone Tracy's the de facto one. I've been very outspoken about the fact that Tyrone Tracy isn't somebody that like blows me away, especially as a receiver, which is incredibly interesting because he is a converted receiver. But if you go back and look at some of his advanced metrics from last season, he was among the worst receivers at the running back position in the NFL in terms of like yards
yeah,
per out run and expected points added per target, all of that advanced analytical stuff, right? And that's something Scat did incredibly well. So
yeah,
that was my first like he led um the running back class in yards per route run. He was one of the best receivers production wise in this class. So that was my first instinct was the clear path for Scat was going to be taking over. He had to grow a little bit in pass pro, but most rookie running backs do. The path that I identified was kind of taking over that third down role, maybe even if the physicality translated, taking over some short yardage stuff too, and that sort of being where he starts, and then we'll go from there. But at this point, some of the reporting that I saw was it's probably going to be like a 70-30 split with Tracy pretty
that makes sense.
early.
Yeah,
But I mean, you look at that running back room, you got Devin Singletary, you got Cam Scadaboo, who's dealing with the hamstring injury. And then you got Tyrone Tracy. So it's another situation where Tracy is probably going to get the first crack at leading this backfield, even if he wasn't overly impressive last year in his rookie season, which, I mean, give him credit, right? He was a fifth, sixth round pick who ended up leading a backfield on a pretty bad team. But I don't know. I'm lower on Tracy than most people seem to be. So do with that what you will. But it seems like it's going to be his job, at least in the early going.
yeah, for sure. That's a good analysis there. And as someone who always schedules the fantasy football draft at like the day before the season starts because I'm a chronic procrastinator, it's worked out well.
I
Like
was going to say, this
I
has
don't
been a
understand
really
these
good
people.
year.
Yeah, I don't understand these people who have the fantasy like mid August, like we're talking right now. I just don't get it.
I have one tomorrow.
Yeah,
And it was one of those things where It's my family league, and we expanded to
Oh, okay.
14 this year. So
Okay.
trying to get 14 people on the same page is
Yeah.
always tough. And I'm the commissioner in that league, and I don't, you only have so much to give when nobody can link up for certain days and these people are out of town. So at a certain
People.
point we were like, okay, we're just doing it this day. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to make it work. It's not ideal, but I am happy that we got a news dump today
Yeah.
versus tomorrow. So I mean, there's still plenty of time for guys to tweak hamstrings. Like Josh Downs today just tweaked his hamstring. That's not good. Uh, but you're right, man. Ideally, there's nothing better than doing even in that week. I think it's like after the third preseason game where there isn't a game and it's still kind of like practicing or whatever. Even during that week is good, but optimal is like the Tuesday or Wednesday
Yeah.
before the kickoff game.
Kickoff. Yeah. No, I'm a commissioner in a 14-person league too, and oh man, people just not responding to texts and not paying. I have to collect money from last year still because
What?
I know I got to get our mutual friend Connor Pelton paid. So
Oh,
although he
you
doesn't
won't
need the money,
see
he
that
doesn't need
money.
the money, but he's got to
Oh,
fill up.
you're trying to pay him.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
he's got to
right.
fill up his Alfa
Man,
Romeo with premium gas somehow. So
Connor doesn't mess around.
no,
He'll send people after you. You got to be careful.
he'll he'll send the Bet Rivers goons after us.
Yeah. Yeah. They have those guys on staff. That's what he was telling me.
Oh yeah,
He was texting me last night telling me he watched Fight Club for the first time and he really enjoyed the movie. So I think he's got like a
I've
newfound
never seen that
aggression.
movie. I need to see it.
Honestly, crazy enough, I haven't either. But he might be the trailblazer and he might start that.
Yeah.
But he's feeling aggressive lately, I think. So you might want to be careful.
Oh boy. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've vamped for long enough. Obviously, the origin of this podcast was us talking about ASU football, pretty much at the nadir, or close to the nadir. And now they are actually they're not favored to win the Big 12. It just depends where you check. A lot of sites have Kansas State, but they
Seems like
are
it's kind of a 3-horse race
they are
wherever you
among
look.
one of the favorites. Just kind of, I mean, obviously, I've been talking about ASU this whole year and following the end of their season and them basically losing nobody in the portal and bringing in some guys. What are your kind of just general thoughts on the Sun Devils as we're just over 2 weeks away from kickoff?
Yeah, admittedly, I haven't been as like tuned in as maybe
Right.
I have been in years past.
Well,
The
you just
fantasy
gave us a bunch
football
of
grind.
extremely detailed stuff about NFL fantasy football, so I can't blame
Yeah,
you.
man, that stuff is a grind. You're in the trenches constantly trying to dig stuff up and
Yeah.
find the edge, that sort of thing. So I haven't been as plugged in with ASU football. But still I think observing from afar and like casually observing, I have a decent enough idea of maybe what could happen in terms of like I feel good going into the year, right? And even when I used to do this show regularly with you and we'd talk, at the end of last season about what what looks good and what should we feel optimistic about and all that stuff. It's obviously the lack of turnover. And you mentioned that
Yep.
the absence of like an exodus to the portal. Um, is incredibly encouraging. And then you go down the line and it's like, oh, they retained both coordinators. Oh, Kenny Dillingham is extended. Oh, they're now working on like upgrading facilities. Oh, you had people driving through Elk to get to Camp Tontozona and watch the scrimmage. Like
Yeah.
it's truly it is wild because when you were talking about, how long you've been doing this show. And when we started doing this show, it's been 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is when it started 3 years
A little
ago,
bit over,
4 years ago.
right? I think June of
And
20. Yeah.
I remember doing this show at the tail end of the Herm era and just how bad everything felt. And it is crazy how quickly this program turned around under the leadership of not only Kenny Dillingham, but Graham Rossini. We used to talk constantly about who the new AD was going to be and all of that stuff.
Right.
And I remember when the Rossini hire was made official, it was kind of like, okay, if it was just going to be an internal candidate, why did they do? We were questioning the process and all of those things. And it's like he's just been a home run of a hire, him and Dillingham. And this program seems like it's, and obviously they have to go out and like follow up, what happened last year with a completely different tone about the season. Right now you are the hunted versus the hunter, and a lot has been made about that. But it seems like if they follow this up and they put together something special this year, recruiting has looked good. The portal and the eye toward the future has been awesome. Like everything about this approach signals that this is an arrival. This isn't just like we're stopping by for a few years, right?
Yeah.
Which is really exciting. So I think they should be among the top three. I don't know. I mean, with Iowa State and Kansas State, right? They should be up there as probably the odds-on favorite, if not second or third highest odds to win the conference again. That's a tough thing to do. And obviously you got a tough Big 12 schedule with, going to Iowa State and going to Baylor and playing Texas Tech. So they have to go out and do it, but they're in a good spot to follow up what they did last year. That's what's cool about a Cinderella run that doesn't end in everybody leaving, is you can actually kind of follow it up.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of like who's favored to win the conference type of thing, like I'm kind of glad that ASU is not the clear and obvious. Like Clemson is the clear and obvious favorite to win the ACC, and by the way, they should be. Like they probably have like 3 or 4 like top whatever second round picks or better on the defensive line. Like they're loaded, so I'm not even disputing that. But like I'm kind of glad that ASU was like, oh, they're among the top teams, but they're not clearly the top team. When at the end, like by the end of the year last year, they were clearly the best team in the Big 12, and I get it. It's last year. Things change. I'm not, but like they beat BYU and they beat the tar out of Iowa State. And so like, yeah. So, and I love that there is that doubt. And one of the reasons I think for this year to not be a disappointment, they need to finish the regular season 9-3 or better. 8-4 is not 8-4 is not going to be good enough unless it's some weird, unless they somehow get to the Big 12 championship game through that. Then okay, but I mean that's probably not going to happen. 9-3, if you go 9-3, you're guaranteed to finish ranked. And again, that's not like the goal. Obviously, the goal is to match or do better than last year, right? But 9-3, you at least avoid like, okay, at least we accomplished some things, that because that's equivalent to our freshman year when ASU, I think they finished in the top 15. They were 9-3 in the regular season, beat Duke in the Sun Bowl. Like that's a good year. It wasn't ideal, but it's a good year. And I mean, one of the reasons I just have so much trust in Levitt. Like, I mean, at the end of the year last year, he was so good, and he had like obviously we talk about the his passing ability, obviously his rushing and sack avoidance. I mean, again in person at the Peach Bowl, his sack avoidance was outstanding, like against NFL players basically, but I mean his lack of turnover worthy plays was incredible. Like and that's like that is innate. Like you can't like you can teach that a little bit, but like ultimately it's just the feel for the game and how he operates,
Yeah. And that's, I just went ahead and looked up the win totals just to kind of see like
8.5.
Yeah, 8.5 is the total. So that 9 that you were pointing out would be enough to cash that win total if you're leaning over. But you go through kind of the where they're at in the roster and the continuity and even the depth at I think what really hurt them last year, especially at receiver, was when Jordan
Well,
Tyson went
yeah.
down. And like obviously Xavier Guillory stepped up big and blanking on his name. Who was the
Stovall,
guy?
Stovall.
Stovall was big, but I'm talking the guy who he made an absurd catch in the Big 12 championship game.
Well, that was Guillory in the back of the.
No, there was a dude.
Malik McClain. Malik McClain.
There you go. Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of. And you have all of those guys stepping up and trying to fill that void for Jordan Tyson, who projects to possibly be a first round pick this year. A lot of people are excited about Jordan Tyson. But I mean, with Sam Levitt, if you're looking at top quarterbacks potentially in the country next year, he's probably in most people's top 10, right? And for good reason. He was just, especially as the year went on and he started to settle in and had a better feel for that offense. I'm trying to on the fly look up kind of what he did last year relative to other Big 12 quarterbacks, but I wanted to see like his turnover worthy plays and things. But what were you going to say?
He is so much more athletic than the average college football fan gives him credit. Like the way that he's just slippery. And I mean, there's so many instances of him avoiding pressure to pick up a first down. Like that's the thing. Like he has this innate, like there's a Russell Wilson aspect to it where it's like he can just like get just enough to get to the first down. Mahomes in that specific sense. And that's just something that like when people talk about, oh, they need to replace Scatterboo, it's like, okay, well, what if Sam Levitt he had like 400 rushing yards last year. What if he has 600 this year? And then,
but not only that, the guys that they have playing running back now, you don't have one guy. You don't have a Scatterboo who's like going to shoulder. Yeah. You have three guys who can chip in and do all of that, together. So you were talking about turnover worthy plays. And last year, I just looked this up on Pro Football Focus real quick. If we're looking at quarterbacks with at least, so Jackson Arnold is the cutoff. He had 246 passing attempts.
Okay.
Among quarterbacks with at least 246 passing attempts, Sam Levitt had the second lowest turnover worthy play percentage in all of college football last year. 0.8% of his throws were turnover worthy plays.
Yeah.
So there was only 3 passes he attempted. And he obviously 5 interceptions. So that would tell you that only 3 of his passes all season of the 288 attempts were deemed turnover worthy passes by, you can put however much stock into the PFF criteria as you want, but that's the second lowest. Brady Cook was the lowest with 0.6, but
well, two of those were like tipped at the line of scrimmage type passes.
Right. So those wouldn't be deemed turnover worthy passes, right? So 5 interceptions, but only 3 turnover worthy with a 9.4 average depth of target, which is also like, I mean, Shedeur Sanders was right below him at 1.1, but an 8-yard ADOT, which is like, obviously, and then the adjusted completion percentage is higher because he's not pushing the ball downfield near as frequently as Levitt did. He also had 458 attempts to Levitt's 288. So that'll skew things a little bit, but that just proves the point that you brought up was it only 3 attempts all year were deemed turnover worthy, which is just absurd. So
yeah, because he had one drop pick that was like a really bad decision in the Oklahoma State game. And of course that wouldn't have even have mattered in the grand scheme of things. But other than that, and I remember seeing a stat last year, this could be wrong, but he was like, I think top 3 in quarterbacks with lost yardage due to drops, because Jake Smith had a huge drop in that Texas Tech game that honestly changed the course of how that game played out. Tyson had a few drops too.
Yeah.
Like for as good as Tyson is, like he still has room to grow in terms of just avoiding drops. And I'm sure there were a few other instances as well, but like
Yeah.
now you upgrade pass
9.1
catchers.
drop percentage.
Who?
Levitt had a 9.1% drop percentage. That was 15th in the entire nation. So
okay, yeah, that's pretty bad.
yeah,
9.1% drop. And
but that's where
yeah,
that's where the depth too at receiver, with the names are entirely escaping me right now, but
so
the Clemson guy, the Fresno State guy, Moss maybe.
Jalen Moss, the guy who's just been killing it at camp, according to all reports, is
Right.
Jaron Hamilton from Alabama.
Exactly. He's
And if
another guy. You go down the list and you're
Malik
looking at
McClain is now in the second year of the system, because the reason why Malik McClain, they redshirted him last year, was because he, for whatever reason, like he just struggled to acclimate because he came in at spring ball, but he was able to contribute in the 2 postseason games, right? Now he has a full year with the system, and he doesn't need to be. He could be the team's third best receiver potentially. Like he doesn't need to have this huge role. And
But that's
so
where the depth is so important,
yeah,
right? That drop percentage being as high as it was is because the skill players were so top heavy, right?
yeah,
It was Cam Scadaboo and it was Jordan Tyson, and then the contributions from other guys throughout the year sprinkled in, right? Maybe sometimes
Mateer,
it was
don't
Mateer,
want it
sometimes
short. Yeah, Mateer.
yeah, sometimes those guys chipped in. It's not like they weren't doing anything, obviously, but you have such a deeper group now where you can go down the list and it's like, oh, and then they have Rayleigh Brown, and now they have Kanye Udo, and now they have Jason Brown and Kyson Brown and the 3 transfer receivers and Jordan Tyson and Shimon Mateer. Like you can just go down the list and it's like, okay, not only do you have this guy who only only attempted or registered, I should say, only registered 3 turnover worthy passes all season last year. Now you're giving him a group that is a significant upgrade, even considering the Scadaboo loss. From top to bottom, you're looking at a group that is a pretty significant, in my mind, upgrade based on what they had last year and how they were able to sort of figure things out once Tyson went down and do all of that.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And everything that's come out about this tight end room, like all the reporters are talking. I mean, obviously, like Mateer, there isn't really much explanation. Like he's just good. I mean, honestly, one of the just such a, I'm kind of forgetting what the phrase would be, but just I guess like found money. Like him coming in at spring ball last year, he to have a like he came out of nowhere and he was just really good as a tight end. And then Harpole is solid. The guy they got him from Kentucky, Kamari Anderson, is supposed to be good. And then this freshman AJ Ia he's like 6'5", 260 as an 18-year-old. And he just makes plays like crazy. And so it's just when you talk and oh, by the way, the offensive line returns 4 out of 5 starters.
yeah.
And Max Iheanacho is projected to be like a second-round pick. It's just like I try not to be too much of like a homer, because to me, I just feel like that's just a great way to just get your hopes destroyed. Like I just feel like being a homer just doesn't help me in terms of being a fan. But there are like the on paper reasons are just like, whoa. And we haven't touched on the defense, but like you have Brian Ward saying, oh yeah, this is the best defense I've had in 20 years. It's like, oh, shit. And they got Clayton Smith on the freaks list from Bruce Feldman. And in the write-up in that article, we mentioned that Keyshawn Elliott easily could have been on there. And then you have Keith Abney, who's going to be an NFL player. And both of our, Rouser and Alford are obviously very good. And there's guys I'm not even mentioning. Oh, yeah, CJ Fight, who's like the strongest, like just an incredibly strong player. And it's just like, It's just like there's a lot. Oh, and by the way, our kicker is amazing.
Yeah,
Apparently, Jesus
that's what
Gomez,
I was gonna say,
Eastern
man. I
Michigan.
cannot wait. And maybe this is just the trauma of last season speaking, but I cannot wait to see. I think I took kickers for granted my whole life until last season. And now I'm like, I cannot wait to see Jesus Gomez's first field goal attempt. And
Yeah, I
if
mean the Eagles have a pretty
that
good kicker.
attempt, if
Right?
that attempt is no good, I might spiral a little bit, but I don't think it will be. We have like a bona fide kicker now, which is awesome.
Yeah, so it's like
It is
it's
crazy how big of an impact that made last year too. Let's
well, and it made
just
an impact on fourth down decisions too. Like
right,
the ending of the BYU game plays out differently if I mean I imagine it plays out differently if ASU had a just average kicking situation.
right.
Um,
And no, I'm completely with you because a lot of people will look at like, oh, Kenny Dillingham was too aggressive and all of those things. But if you don't trust your kicker, it's almost like, do we have better odds of picking this up and scoring 7 points? Like, what's the risk reward ratio there
right,
relative
right.
to the kicking situation? So having a guy who's hopefully automatic from within 35 and gives you a pretty good shot from 45 and further changes the whole complexion of what you can do offensively.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean there are some definitely some tough road games on the schedule. Like I am not taking that Mississippi State game. Like I know that they were bad last year. Like that's going to be a tough game, and I think ASU has what it takes to win that game. But Mississippi State will be better than they were last year at Baylor, at Utah. Like at Utah is that's just going to be very difficult. At Iowa State, same, and then at Colorado, that could be a cold game too. So like it's it's not easy, but like if this team just I feel like if this team just like plays up to its potential, it doesn't even have to like you know overextend itself. I think that it
Yeah,
can
this
just
isn't
get to 10-2.
100%. This isn't a team that needs to overachieve to meet their
Right.
goals, which is crazy because last year's team really needed to do that and had massive wins down the stretch to reach the point that they did, which is something that like,
Yeah.
none of us would have ever imagined in terms of like a college football playoff game and a bye in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Um, but you look at it through the lens of like this is now a team that has arrived, right? They're number 11 in the country. They're one of the favorites to win this conference with some pretty good teams. It's now there's always going to be an element of luck injury wise, right?
Right.
You have to stay healthy. You can't have any catastrophic injuries, right?
Well,
And
and
they dealt
before you
with
finish
some of
that,
that last year.
it's
Yeah.
not like ASU was like super lucky on the injury front. Their three
No.
best offensive players all missed at least one game.
Right.
Obviously Levitt, the Cincinnati game, Scadaboo, the UCF game, and then Tyson, the final two games of the season. So, and also they began the year with Jordan Crook and Prince Dorba both injured for like the first month of the year, you know? And so, like,
100%.
if like, yeah, they didn't get like destroyed by injuries, but it's not like they just completely avoided it altogether either. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I think it's a team where if you see, because you're right, it's not even like, oh, we lucked out injury wise last year. Hopefully the pendulum doesn't swing the other way and now we're decimated. If you believe in the whole momentum thing and the whole law of averages thing, that would probably lend to the belief that they might be a little luckier this year. Obviously, it's not that simple, but you want to stay, you need to have some injury luck break your way. And that's why the depth is so important too, because I don't think they're going to be near as like they were not going to scramble. It almost felt like, okay, there a solution on the roster last year when Tyson went down. Ultimately, guys filled in and did a good job. But now you've got depth and guys who can realistically step up and fill those voids, which is huge when you're talking about a long season and a season that, once you get into the cold months and you're going to Iowa and Colorado, and Utah in October. I don't know how cold that'll be, but it's you're going to some tough places during
Right.
some tough months, and the grind of a season could play a role, and
Yeah, that's
it's just
always
a
a
matter of
possibility. Yeah, it's football.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a matter of staying healthy. But if they do, the continuity on both sides of the ball, I don't think that can be overstated, right?
Right.
Football is so predicated on all of the Bill Belichick do your job stuff and how big that was when the Patriots were in the midst of their big run.
No days off.
Unfortunately,
No
yeah,
days off.
unfortunately at the hands of your or I guess at the mercy of your Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but that whole like do your job thing, it really comes down to that. And when you are playing with 10 other guys on the defensive side, or you talked about the offensive line continuity, if you're playing with, four other guys that you've played with for an entire season, you trust that, okay, as long as I do my job, these guys are going to do what they need to do. And it all comes together in harmony, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like that's the chord that so many teams are trying to strike. And it's so tough to maintain and at any level, keep a core together and maintain that level of familiarity and continuity as teams get older and as teams develop and as age sets in and things like that. So in this era of transfer portal, NIL, college football, to return the roster 85 to 90% of the starting roster that they did last year is such, in my mind, is such an advantage that we're in a position right now where ASU doesn't have to overachieve
Yeah.
to reach their goals. They just have to do what they are expected to do. And sometimes that's an even taller order, right? There's
Yeah.
a human element. There's a human element that comes into play. There's the emotional aspect of like, oh, okay, we can't really play up the underdog thing anymore because now we have the burden of expectation, and that can be a completely different beast. So there's a lot to like, but now in this new era of Kenny Dillingham ASU, how does this team respond to a completely different, at least outward identity where you're a favorite in the Big 12?
Yeah. Well, to me, it's just like I think they have good player leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sam Levitt, just he's a natural leader. You know, there's no like. I just think it's like it's not like it's him trying. It's not like he just seems like someone who just assumes the role like a hand in glove, and he's got the
Yeah.
confidence, but he backs it up, right? Like everyone, I remember when he said like, "Oh, I'm going to go prove that I'm the best quarterback on the field," prior to the Peach Bowl, and then everyone left that game being like, "Oh yeah, I mean number 10 on ASU, like he was pretty good." Like that
Yeah.
that run that he had in overtime on 3rd and 14, like not many guys are doing that, and
Yeah.
and so that is just one of the things that like, and I believe it was Chris Cartman of Sun Devil Source. It was in the off season. He mentioned how like some of the incoming transfers told him that like this like the leadership the just vision like from Levitt is like stands out. And in one of the videos that the Sun Devil account shared at the end of their like whatever like winter workouts or spring workouts or whatever it was like him screaming like, "How good do you want to be?" Or whatever. And it's like, and he's also a competitive, like he's like he's not just like, oh, a normal competitor, no, like he is a competitive, like I don't want to say like something path, but like he's a really big, and all of that adds up. And so yeah, it's just when Dillingham said there's probably like a week and a half ago after practice, I think it was like their fourth practice, he was like, I feel like we have it back from last year. And if that's the
Mm-hmm.
case, like being like, oh, this team ended the season really hot, how does that transfer into the next year? Like there's no like science to it. Sometimes it totally transfers over, sometimes it doesn't. But
Right.
I mean, if it does transfer over, like if we get the ASU team from the Kansas State game on this year, like watch out. Watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough after a layoff, right? The layoff of an
Of
off
course.
season and sitting with you were 4th and 13 away from winning a playoff game for however many months, right? Uh, just sitting there and stewing on all of that and utilizing that as the drive. If they do pick up where they left off and they do find it, and there's not a lot of rust because of the offseason or things like that, they really found something, obviously, right? That run they went on from Kansas State on was unlike I don't think any of us at our most optimistic could have expected that.
That's the best I've seen ASU play in my time following them.
It was unreal. And you go down the list and all of the key components to pick that back up are still here.
Right.
They don't have to offset losses or things like that. The Scadaboo element,
And losing
a lot of
Shamari
people
Simmons and Lee
yeah.
Felton.
Yes, a lot. I think Scadaboo is going to be what the casual ASU observer, right, when they throw on a week
Casual
4
football
Big 12 game,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. ASU is going to take a step back because of Cam Scadaboo, but the guys that they have on this roster, Kanye Udo specifically was a monster at Army, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes here. Now I don't know. You probably know better than I do, but my assumption was that he's probably going to lead the room. I don't know if anything has come out
Everything that's
contrary
come
to
out
that.
right now is that it's Kyson Brown. And
Okay,
by the
that's
way, like,
interesting.
that makes sense. Like he was awesome. He played really well.
He was great too. He was great too. And but that even reinforces the strength of this room, right? And Kyson Brown is 100% deserving of that. But we're in an era across all levels of football where, the bell cow guy, the Scadaboo role is an unconventional role. Typically, running backs aren't utilized in that fashion because of the rate at which they break down, and you try to incorporate as many backs into a system as you can. You see efficiency bumps with that, you see longevity, all of those things. So sure, they're going to lose a workhorse in Scadaboo who did a little bit of everything, but then you've got the Kyson Brown and Kanye Udo types who project as maybe early down backs. And then you've got Rayleigh Brown who projects as sort of a third down pass catching specialist guy. Like, I don't want to borrow the money ball line here, but you can kind of recreate Scadaboo in the aggregate a little bit, So to me, I'm not looking at the loss of Scadaboo as like, oh, this is going to be something that is going to be really difficult to overcome. And Scadaboo is one of my favorite, probably my favorite ASU player of all time, right? He was incredible and he's a legend and all of those things, but his loss is not going to cost ASU 2 wins. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and so we have to remember that they're all being coached by Sean Aguano, who is just an excellent running backs coach. There's no even when ASU's just had a good running game, even when they were bad at the end of they had Valde, who was awesome that year. And then prior to that, they had Rashad White. Prior to that, Benjamin. Maybe the worst year was when a bad year between Balaj and Richard, but that's going back 8 years or whatever. So, and Demario Richard was good. And Marion Grice was good, that's getting really far back, but I don't like talking about players as oh, they're replaceable, but running back is the most replaceable position. It just is. And again, it's not like Scadaboo is just, obviously they're not going to have the same type of season that Scadaboo did, but we also have to remember that Levitt in the first month of the year, he was very hit or miss, right? In the Mississippi State game last year, Levitt was just straight up bad, and the Texas Tech game, he was shaky. And he had some deep bad moments against Texas State on the road. So like, but he clearly improved. After that bye week and against Kansas, he was awesome. And so anyway, but like when people are like, oh, like how are they going to do this again? Like to me, the only or the critique that holds the most weight is the one score game stuff.
Yeah.
And if you now if you dive into every one score game, each of them have a different story, right? Like the Mississippi State game and the BYU game, yes, they were one score games, but they were also one score games where ASU was ahead by a huge margin, and then the other team came back to make it close. Then now the BYU game was much more in doubt at the end. And then you look at like the Utah game, like, okay, that was a one score game, but that was only a one score game because we missed an extra point,
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. It was a one score game. The Texas Tech game, like that was kind of not even really a one score game for ASU. That was the reverse of the other one score games. And then because I did a show about this like probably a month and a half ago, I'm kind of forgetting. Well, the Texas State game, like that was obviously a game that ASU could have lost, but
Yeah.
ASU is not going to be
Kansas.
facing. So yeah, so I'm going to get to Kansas and UCF.
Yeah.
That Texas State game, like yes, ASU could have lost that game. The difference is like ASU will not be in a situation equivalent to that this year. And what I mean by that is they're not going to be on the road at a good group of 5 team on a Thursday night,
Yeah.
on a
Short
Thursday
week.
night. And by the way, that was like their Texas State's like first ever time that they were hosting a Power 4 team. So obviously they're all going to be juiced up for that. Texas State
Yeah.
did lose a bunch of guys like to graduation or transferring or whatever. They had a 25-year-old quarterback, you know. So I'm not saying that didn't count as a close game, but it's not replicable, The Kansas game, yeah, that game was one of the most frustrating ASU wins I've ever watched because ASU like moved the ball at will on Kansas, and like they had a blocked field goal. They had a Tyson, one of those interceptions thrown by Levitt was literally a pass to Tyson right on the goal line that he dropped and was then intercepted. And then Tyson also had a fumble in that game after he had picked up a first down. And there was also, I'm not going to get too much into ref stuff, but there was a blatant missed holding call on O'Neal on one of the Kansas touchdowns. He was coming up the middle. And then also 2 of the touchdowns ASU allowed in that game were coverage busts, essentially. And so is that going to happen again with, by the way, who were coverage busts from, I believe, a player who is no longer on the team. And so obviously like this stuff can happen, but like, and then the UCF game, that's the one where I'm like, yeah, ASU kind of like ASU escaped in the UCF game because RJ Harvey ripped the defense apart. He was basically the only running back, maybe Micah Bernard, you could say, in the Utah game, but RJ Harvey did better than any of the Texas running backs, did better than the running backs on K-State, that did better than Ollie Gordon, et cetera. So like the UCF game, like, yeah, they definitely could have lost that game. But anyway, so like I do think the one score game thing holds weight. I just like there are, if you dive into it, like I don't think it's quite as much of a reason for concern. I do think the soft factor of like, okay, are they going to do it again at ASU? Like, I think that's real to a point, but we've kind of touched on that earlier in the show, and then the Scadaboo stuff. Like, yeah, like maybe losing Scadaboo will be the big reason why, but I don't know. I think that maybe if like teams like last year ASU's secondary wasn't that good in terms of yards allowed. Now yards allowed can be a funky stat because like when did those yards come? But it wasn't perfect. But like the ASU defense also was best in the Big 12 in rush defense. So like I don't know, pick your poison, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like. There's a lot to like, and one thing that's kind of been bouncing around in my head is like there's similarities to this ASU team and the 2023 Washington team that played in the Natty. Now, I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. Like, it's a different path, different playoff setup, all sorts of different things. And ASU doesn't like it's not built the exact same way as that Washington team, but they have a better defense than that Washington team, and they have a more consistent run game than that Washington team. Now, who knows it? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say Levitt will be better than Penix that year. That like they're not going to have 3 receivers taken in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Like
Yeah.
it's a different setup, but like
No,
that
totally.
Washington team had a 10-2 year the year before, returned everyone essentially, save for like a few like random starters. They got back Penix when they didn't think they were going to get him back, and then it was full steam ahead that next year. So I don't know if I don't know how that'll play out, but I shared a ESPN article from Jordan Reed probably about a week ago, and he went through he did the most draft prospects for like 12 teams in college football. He had ASU getting 10 guys drafted. Like, if
That's
that
crazy.
happens, if ASU like has 10 guys drafted, that means they had a really good year, or they are just the only way they would underachieve in that outcome is if they just had like the worst possible luck of all time in all these like individual moments. But like, that's really stretching it to think that way. So
Yeah. No, man, I don't think there's any reason. If you want to go back and if the running back, whoever's listening, if the running back situation is somewhat nerve wracking to you, right? I mean, you can go look at Kyson Brown and kind of what he did against UCF and Oklahoma State, right? The yards after contact per attempt figures and all of those things. He not only that, but he's seeing 18 carries in that game and 15. And then in the UCF game, he still saw 5 targets, right? Like,
yeah,
these guys can still be utilized as receivers. They're still physical runners. There's enough here in terms of traits across the running backs, across, Rayleigh Brown, Kyson Brown, all of these guys,
we
Kanye
haven't mentioned
Udo,
Jason Brown, who was
Jason
a
Brown, who could
four-star
play a
coming out of
role
high school
too.
recently. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't worry too much about the running back. That's kind of my big
right.
takeaway here, because nobody's going to fill Scadaboo's shoes, right? But I think he has cast such a massive, like, how should I put this? Like a massive reputation shadow, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Right.
I
I
get what you're
think
saying. Yes,
it's a situation where the production can be replicated across multiple guys, even if it's like, oh, but it's not Cam Scadaboo doing it, right? It was just, it's a special season, a special player, but I don't think his loss is going to equate to a massive regression for the rushing offense.
well, I think if ASU doesn't achieve its goals or has a disappointing season, I think it'll be attributed to like the shit happens category, or some of the teams that we play this year are just way better than we think they're going to be. Like if Mississippi State ends up just being like, comes out of nowhere and is like a 9-3 team in the SEC this year, then okay, like maybe Mississippi State is just like way better than people think and they beat us, or
Yeah.
Texas Tech, like maybe all of it comes together and they're just awesome. With how much money they've spent. And Utah, like everything clicks with Devin Dampier and their offense, and like all these things that like could happen, that like it's obviously on the table. Like, I don't think either of us are getting over our skis and like, oh, like they're gonna do this and this and like, but I just think there's so much on paper stuff that points in the Sun Devils direction. That's kind of what I keep coming back to. And just that, seeing that article from Jordan Reed, and who knows how correct he is, but like, he's talking with scouts. He's not just pulling all this information out of his ass. Like he's not, and all the other teams ahead of ASU in that were like, it was Penn State and Clemson as the top 2, which like, yeah, like those 2 teams are loaded, and they both have NFL quarterbacks on their roster, and then below it was like Oregon and, all the usual suspects, like, So it's I just there's one part of my brain that's like this team could like they're favored in every game according to some guy on three's model, and some of those are like 1 point favorites, but still, you know. So if that plays out, then like holy crap. Then there's the other part of my brain that's like, oh man,
Like, what is the ceiling, right?
I don't think. Yeah, the ceiling is. Look, if we're talking about the ceiling of this team, it's going undefeated and winning the Big 12 again. Then playoff, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Because some of that is just matchups, and some of
Right.
that is
Who
like,
you get, that sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
some of that. If ASU was properly seated ahead of Boise State last year, and they play Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl,
It's a
like
home game.
it's a home game against a team with a questionable like Penn State's offense last year, like was very hit or miss, And I think Drew Aller gets a lot of crap that's honestly undeserved, but he does throw some picks. Like there's no way around that. And then like maybe they play a Notre Dame team that again, like Riley Leonard is not the best throwing quarterback, So like I think there was a real reality that Texas was the second best team in college football last year. And I think you saw that in the game they played against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like Texas could have won that game. They were at the, first and goal or whatever. Like the final score was not indicative of how that game played out on a down-to-down basis. So, and I know that Notre Dame lost by 11 in the championship game. They were probably the third best team, but that was another scenario where Ohio State had a giant lead and Notre Dame made it close. So like, that's just and I mean, just seeing Texas live last year, and they had like 13 guys drafted, and they still have Colin Simmons coming back and Michael Taff, Mr. Dirty Hit guy. But
Yeah. No, it was clean. It wasn't called.
oh yeah, Arch Manning.
Real quick, was that play called a penalty? And then was it like play on and we'll review it after the
fact? I don't remember. I don't think there was a flag thrown originally, but then they reviewed it. And I don't know, like I'm not a conspiracy guy with sports, but like if an ESPN exec was like, hey, we need Texas to move on, you can't call this, I would believe it. I wouldn't be like, oh, there's no way that happened, Like,
so
I ultimately I don't think that's what happened, but
I was so caught up in the hysteria of that game that like after the targeting wasn't called, I genuinely was like head in my hands, like so distraught that I may have missed up until I want to say maybe Bird Auburn's first miss.
That's the other thing that ASU did benefit from some missed field goals, but we also had a missed field goal in that game too. So,
but anyway, if the targeting is called, where is the ball placed?
I want to say like the 30 of the 28 or the 30 of Texas. I don't know for sure. And then
so like fringe red zone, if that's called.
Yeah, and like there's no guarantee that ASU would have made the field goal either. So like that one,
no, but it obviously doesn't win them the game, but it's fringe red zone with a first down, correct? Mm-hmm. Like that's an automatic first down. And then you have a little over a minute.
I don't want to go, dude. I don't want to revisit this, man.
I know. I don't know why I am right now.
They had the opportunity to win, and I think the thing that seeing the review of Matthew Golden like bobbling the ball on the turf as he caught that in the end zone, that would have been reviewed in the NFL. I'm like, oh man, like that's kind of the thing that hurts me. But you know what's funny? Like seeing that game live was I didn't feel like ASU was going to lose on that play. It was the subsequent one, the touchdown to Helm.
Oh yeah.
No one talks about that one, but that's when I was like, oh.
Because you know what happened on that
I was like,
play?
We're not scoring another touchdown on these guys. Like I knew, like we needed to get one, and it's really unfortunate that ASU got the ball first in that, because if you just flip it around and Texas scores on 4th and 13 in the first half of that sequence, and then ASU gets the ball back, and everything the same happens. Levitt does the 3rd and 14 run, and then Scadaboo runs it in. I think Dillingham just goes for 2 because it's like we know like we don't have as much talent as these guys. We have to end this game now, and
Yeah.
maybe we win, maybe
So
we lose. But
you know why nobody remembers the Gunnar Helm play? Because
why?
ESPN went to commercial when you
Oh,
were if you're watching the
oh,
broadcast,
okay.
ESPN went to commercial, and then they're coming back, and I can't remember specifically. Again, that day was a blur,
Yeah,
but
completely. Yeah.
they come back from commercial, and Gunnar Helm is walking into the end zone,
Ugh,
and it was like,
that's
was that a
worse.
replay or did that just happen?
I
Nobody like. So everybody forgets that play because everybody who was watching the game, the ESPN broadcast just like didn't show it.
yeah.
It was wild.
It is frustrating that like Quinn Ewers had like the 2 best throws of his life in that moment, but he also threw a complete like moon ball that helped ASU get back in the game with the pick from Javen Robinson. So I mean, I guess it shakes out, but whatever. That's in the past. It's in the
Yeah,
past.
we can't revisit it.
And you know what? ASU doesn't play Texas. So, and if
Yeah,
ASU ends up playing Texas again, then that means we had a really good season. So, yeah,
redemption.
yeah, exactly. So, let's see. Anything else that we want to touch on? I saw randomly that ASU is trending toward a commitment from this quarterback from Texas named Weston Nielsen, 4-star guy. So that's good, especially when you have like the thing that's hasn't been talked about much about Levitt's success is that it can bolster Dillingham's reputation as a quarterback guy because you have Jake Fetty coming in the 2026 class. And then if this Weston Nielsen kid, commits all the way through his commitment, he comes in from 27 class, and then you're just stacking these 4-star quarterbacks. So that's good. And then there's all this, the Sam Levitt Heisman hype I haven't got too much into because like the Heisman is such a weird award, and
Yeah,
let's be honest, like players in the SEC and Big Ten, really the SEC, get preferential treatment in the Heisman discussion, and like that's just how it is. Part of it I understand because like the SEC does produce the most NFL players every year, and so like that's why I don't try to be like, oh, SEC, like what? No, like there's some truth to their uh, the praise that they get, but anyway, so like I kind of just don't really care that if he wins the Heisman, like just have a Heisman worthy year,
yeah.
like it would be great if
He
he won
is.
it, but
Yeah,
and he has
he
enough
is.
height. And I saw, this is from BetMGM. I'm pulling up here. I'm not going to pull it up on my screen, but this is from Wednesday, and it's on 3. Did a tweet or an X post or whatever you want to call it, and it's the top 4 Heisman odds, and it had Levitt, I think, at 4th at. Why is it still loading? This is really
I got
frustrating.
FanDuel right here. Sam
Okay.
Levitt is 20-1, and he's tied. Let's see. So Arch Manning is 7.5-1.
Okay.
And then you've got Cade Klubnik is 9-1. Garrett
Cade Klubnik is
Mustad.
Heisman. I think that is like he's a good player. He could be like the number 1 pick in the draft potentially, but I don't see his game as like, oh, he's going to win the Heisman. Like to win the Heisman, you
Carson.
need to have like explosive plays. Like when
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, he had an 85-yard touchdown run against Florida. Like,
Yeah.
and he
I
also
will
had
say that
stats.
Carson Beck has
Okay,
shorter odds than
Carson Beck
Sam
is not
Levitt.
winning the Heisman.
18-1. Sam Levitt is 20-1. So
I would rather bet on. I think Jeremiah Smith could win the Heisman at Ohio State. Like he is the
yeah,
best college football.
he's 12-1. And then you got John Mateer,
I could
who
see him winning it. I
might
don't
be
think he
betting on
will.
himself at 25-1.
He definitely bet. So I didn't look at all of his Mateer's transactions, but it was hilarious to me that aside from the vaguely homophobic ones, or but not that I'm not getting it, but like the sports betting ones, and then there's like sports betting USC UCLA. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, like that's like, oh, you definitely did like bet on it. Like,
One of them was like, now come on, this could be anything.
yeah.
Now that got me pretty
Oh,
good. That one was
he's
pretty
lucky that
good.
he was in Washington, like that there's not like a paper trail that can go back to him. It was just like like old school, betting, like, but
Oh, with the I love how Venmoing the bookie is old school betting.
or yeah, or just like cash, but like not like, yeah.
Yeah, I
And then
feel you.
there's
I
the
feel
hype
you.
of Tyson winning the Bolitnikoff. I could see that happening. But I don't know, like the thing with Jeremiah Smith being there does kind of complicate that. Because
ASU is 14 to 1 to go undefeated.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say this: I'd rather have that odds than that. Like, I'd rather have, like, if you ask me, like, which bet do you want to come true? Sam Levitt, Heisman, Jordan Tyson, Bolitnikoff, or ASU going undefeated? Like, give me the team success above all else, baby. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
100 to 1 to win the natty.
nah, that's a lot to ask. Like, I think ASU could have an excellent season, and if it ends with them being blown out in a college football playoff game, like in the moment, that would suck. And I don't like. I think they're good enough to avoid getting blown out, but ultimately, you're in the college
Here's a good
football.
one. Here's
You
a
know,
good one. 2 to 1 to win 10 games.
see, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's good value.
Does
The
that
odds are
count?
decent.
Is that 10? Is that 10-2, or is that 10 regular? Like,
10 plus wins. So basically a win total of 9.5.
so that potentially that means that you. Well, no, I'm saying is that regular season, or does that include like a bowl game or
Regular season.
Oh,
Regular
okay,
season
okay,
wins.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, yeah, that would be great. Like, I'll say this: like, I think there's a lot of fans who are like, "Oh, we need to win the Big 12 again." Like, obviously, you want to win the Big 12 again. If ASU goes 10-2 and like tiebreakers keep them out of the Big 12 championship game, like again, in the moment it would suck, but stacking 2 10-2 seasons is awesome.
And going
You
to the
know,
Pop-Tart Bowl, I'll
yeah,
take it.
it would probably be
Dude,
the
it
Alamo
is
Bowl.
crazy how the Pop-Tart Bowl has probably become outside of the New Year's Six or
Yeah,
whatever. The Pop-Tart Bowl is up there with what? Like the Alamo Bowl for like
Holiday Bowl maybe. Yeah,
the
but yeah,
must see games. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Well, and yeah, because it's two ranked teams playing that game,
Right.
which that's
But it's
good.
become
Like,
like must see TV because the Pop Tart executes himself.
right. Yeah, no, it's
So
great marketing. Like, it's
yeah.
fantastic. It gets picked up by non-sports outlets all the time, or that the highlights of it or whatever. But yeah, so who knows? Who knows? Hopefully, I I just think like I'm just kind of a nervous guy in a lot of ways, as you know, but like beyond that, like again, it's the on paper stuff that I keep coming back to. It's like, okay, like there's just not a whole bunch of question marks with this team, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess the biggest question mark is kind of developed recently. It's like the who's going to be center because Dillingham saying like, oh, we're definitely going to have like Ben Coleman will be one of the starting 5 offensive linemen. It's just a question of whether he's playing guard or center. And so now they have this redshirt freshman Wade Helton who transferred from Iowa State. He was doing center snaps. So it could be that, or it could continue to be Coleman, and then the Texas State transfer Jameto Bigbo plays at left guard. But I mean, that's like shuffling offensive line. Like, that's not the biggest thing, And then it'll be interesting to see who comes in as the starting nickel, whether that's like it's either going to be like Montana Warren or the guy from Purdue, Kendrick Breedlove, who led Purdue in interceptions last year. Granted, it was 3, but that's still pretty good. But it's funny, like Purdue has so many guys that have transferred out. I mean, we have 2 of their defensive backs, Breedlove and the Nyland Green, and then their tight end. I think his name is Max Clare. He's like supposed to be like the top tight end taken in the draft. He's at Ohio State. It's like, how did this team go like one and lose every Big Ten game? But it's just like if you're bad at a few positions, like it can sink you. So anyway, there's a few other things that were kind of bouncing around. What do you think of Dillingham's? I think this is something we agree on. It seems like the NAU game will have a pretty good attendance, but
Yeah,
there's clearly
they're
an effort.
begging people to come.
They basically are, which like.
Okay, hold on. Are you still a season ticket holder?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, okay,
Here's
never
why.
mind then.
No, so I'll explain. Like, dude, I've been applying for jobs like everywhere. Like, I would love to stay in Arizona, but like, I need to get a job, and like, preferably one that's within sports media or journalism / content, whatever, like writing and something like that.
Right.
So in that light, like I am applying, dude. I'll tell you after we air, but like I might end up moving anyway. Like it, so that's why I didn't renew my season ticket. That's solely
Got it. There's some dominoes left to fall.
Hopefully, because like I've been on this job application thing for the last few months, and it's one of the most frustrating. It's anyway.
I get it.
Yeah, and I'll be out of town for the NAU game anyway because my friend, who I grew up with, like my best friend from Tacoma. He's having his bachelor party in a cabin in the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia because he lives in Washington, D.C. right now. So we're going to irresponsibly consume some alcoholic beverages that weekend, and hopefully
be careful. You'll be
I know, dude,
off to the mountains if you get too rowdy.
I don't want to hear any like ominous banjos that night. So
don't cackle too loud.
No, I know, dude. I know.
They'll track you down.
I got to be careful. But so I'll be out of town for that game anyway. But anyway, back to my point about the NAU game. Like Dillingham made a point of like, oh, all these top teams, like they sell out or get 80% attendance for their like FCS game. And in my head, I'm just like, I don't believe that. I don't believe like, sorry. I'm not going to blame a fan who doesn't want to go to an ASU game where they're playing an FCS team and it's going to be 105 degrees at kickoff. Like if I had tickets and if I were in town and if I had tickets, I would go. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't go, but like, I'll say this. I'm glad that they're like pulling out every stop to get people to go to that game because like I've seen some like opposing fans be like, oh, they got to like do this to get people there. It's like, dude, like it's an FCS team. It's going to be 105 degrees at kickoff. Like, do some like let's really.
And I saw 7.
Yeah. So luckily, no, it'll be late, but it's still going to be hot.
No, I know. I'm not saying it won't be hot. I was just wondering what time that was.
But I did.
Dude, I remember going to that Mississippi State game last year.
Oh God.
And that was brutal. It was at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it's still like 105. It was absurd.
I know. And like, by the way, like we're young people, like we're in, decent shape. And like, if you're an older person, like you don't want to go there and like have heat stroke or some shit. Like it's, so.
That might've been the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
But like, I get I am all for criticizing our fan base not showing up to like the UCF game last year. That was like 75% full. That was embarrassing by our fan base. And I imagine a big part of people not showing up for that game was like seeing UCF on the schedule. Is like, oh, is that like a group of 5 team or like, I was hanging out with Connor like a month ago and one of his friends came over and he mentioned that like, oh, I was at that game for the first half. Then I left to go watch at a bar. And I was like, dude, you like, that like you were literally the problem with our fan base.
The problem is, man, they all want to go, and this is, I don't view this as a problem. I'm saying this is the problem that ASU likely needs to address, and generally most stadiums need to address.
Correct.
Let's say ASU, because of the demographic, ASU's fan base is predominantly young people, right?
Right.
It is a college football team. You're looking at a large contingent of your fan base being not only of legal drinking age, but of legal drinking age with a desire to drink heavily. right? So if you are going to these games and you pull up, you probably got a nice buzz on from the pregame. You're getting into the game, you get your first beer, and you've just spent $13, right? You're sitting there in the heat and you're doing all of this, and your beer is gone, and you're like, damn, do I really want to spend another $13? Or could I go in AC and at a bar, which, you know, bars can suck. I get it. But you can sit in a comfortable seat, right? Not in a bleacher seat with a probably at least two drinks. If you're talking beers for the price you just paid for one, that starts to become enticing, right? So
Yeah.
what is the price point for beers where you could make beers enticing? Those they're it's one of the worst markups of all time. But what is the price point where you can make beers
I literally
enticing?
have no idea.
No,
So I
but that's
can't.
the
Yeah.
question. No, I'm not. I'm not at. You're not the marketing department, Mark. You're not stadium ops. You're off the hook here.
Right.
I'm saying stadium ops and the marketing team needs to decide what is a comfortable margin on these beers where we can get these people to stay and not go to bars for the second half, but still do okay on our tall boys. That truthfully, when you're buying them wholesale, I wouldn't be shocked if they're paying $3 to $4 for these tall boys, right? At wholesale
Yeah.
prices.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're selling them at $14. So if you bring that margin down a little bit, this has now become business 101. Thank you for taking the class. You bring that margin down a little bit, maybe those young
More people
degenerate
buy it.
fans
Yeah.
hang out a little longer.
I think they
That
do
was
have
free.
value beers. I do think they.
Run it
Yeah.
constantly.
So
That's my 2 cents. Take
yeah,
it or leave it.
the one thing that also probably affected some of the games attendance last year was like, look, with a lot of casual fans aren't keeping up to the day to day comings and goings of the program, and it took a bit for people to realize, oh, this team is actually good, you know,
Right.
and
That's another thing. That's a
this
good
year
point.
you have the built in momentum of the offseason and all that. So there's that aspect to it. Um, but as we say this, like I saw it from one of the reporters today that they had like the most freshmen like logged in to go for their online ticket thing, and so that's awesome. Like if you get a bunch of like that looks good on TV, and by the way, the student section was great all of last year. Like it's
Yeah.
not that it's the older fans. And many another rant. This is a rant I've had before, but so many or a noticeable chunk of older fans like we need more noon games. We need more games at noon.
That BYU game was
Yeah, okay,
insane.
sure. Obviously, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But again, that game that was a top 15 matchup. Everyone knew ASU was good at that point. BYU influence in the Valley obviously helped with some attendance.
Yeah.
Not it wasn't quite as BYU full as some of their fans would make it out to believe, but obviously they were there. Side note, I love how much BYU fans hate Sam Levitt. I love it. They despise him, and I love it. Anyway, so but I mean, all of this is to say, like, I think it's going to be a pretty good crowd for NAU. Like, I think there's been enough groundwork laid out, and like ASU, just go out and beat the living tar out of them. Don't have it be like, oh, it's 24-10 at halftime or whatever. Like, no, have it be like 35-3 at halftime or whatever. Have it be a huge margin at halftime, and then like if people leave at half, like yeah, of course they are. It's going to be hot as hell, and that's what happens when you play a JV team, And so a lot of the changes about college football I don't like. I like some of them, but like if we get to a point where there's no longer these body bag games, like that's good with me, because I just think that
Yeah.
it's. And by the way, like a lot of these same problems are evident at like basically any school that's in a giant city. This happens at UW. UCLA, yes, this happens, obviously. Having been to a UCLA game, I totally understand why people don't go. It's a pain in the ass. It is a pain in the ass. Happens at USC, happens at Miami, happens at Pitt, happens at Minnesota, And so when people who are like their college is in this college town, I saw this Iowa State fan shitting on it, being like, "Oh, they got a big." This was like 2 weeks ago, and it's like, dude, like it's basically a pro team in Iowa, and it's in a college town. Uh, early September, late August is like the best time of the year weather-wise there. And oh, by the way, if all this fan support mattered so much, maybe you guys would have, I don't know, won a conference championship or not had your first 10-win season ever until last year. So this idea that like obviously it matters, like it's not the only thing, but I seem to remember Stanford winning a bunch of games, 10 years ago, and they weren't selling that place out. So anyway, that's just kind of a side rant, but to wrap it back up, like I do think that it will be a good, relatively good attendance for the NAU game, So anyway, but what games do you plan on going on this year? Because you're not a season ticket holder, but
No, I'm as of right now, I will definitely be at West Virginia.
okay.
Splurged for those tickets with like Josh and Cole and all those guys.
Oh, so it's like Josh coming into town that weekend or whatever.
Josh is coming out. Matt and Cole are coming out. We're all
That's
gonna
awesome.
go sit in like the
Yeah.
lower
Ooh,
bowl because head is scraping the sky up in the
right.
nosebleeds.
I get
So
that.
it'll be nice to sit among the affluent fans. Uh,
Yeah.
but that'll be fun. And then some preliminary talks for the Territorial Cup. So if you're still in town
Oh,
and you
okay.
want in on that action, I'm sure Tonus and Pelton, they're still the motley crew, I'm
Well,
sure.
well, Tonus and Pelton they're season tickets no matter what. And then
Yeah.
Justin Toscano, he doesn't even live in Arizona. He's trying to move back here to get a job, but I think he's only planning on going to like 3 games, but he bought season tickets too. So
Okay.
there'll be some reunions. I mean, part of me like just in my individual job situation, like if I end up getting a job out of state, that's awesome. Then okay, fine. I don't go to ASU games this year, like, or maybe I'll go to some road games, But like that's a good thing in my individual life, But
You need to ask for PTO for ASU home games along with a company charter
oh,
that gets you to and from Sky Harbor with enough time to tailgate before, after, then sleep it off, and then you
yeah,
want to be flown home.
it's taking ever longer to sleep stuff off these days.
Yeah.
Uh, if I will say this, if both teams hold up their end of the bargain in terms of winning games, the ASU Texas Tech game is going to be a movie. Like,
Yeah, that one could end up being similar. Obviously, it's not as late in the year, but it could end up being similar in terms of implications as like what ASU BYU was last
yeah.
year.
Well, if there is a opportunity for ASU to get on game day or to host game day this year, I think it's that game.
Yeah, especially with all of the Texas Tech like NIL stuff.
All the hype that they have, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It could
Because
be.
before,
Tickets as low as $34 right now too. So buy
oh
those
wow,
now.
yeah, that's what I'll say. Like for everyone, the tens of people watching this, uh,
You get tens, that's good.
hey, yeah, exactly.
I think I'm still in single digits.
There you
So
go. Hey, you know what? You're balling out. You're making those little YouTube shorts that I'm too lazy to make. But anyway, what I was gonna say is, oh, yeah, I mentioned like $34. Like, just do some digging. You can find cheaper prices to these games. Okay, like I know that ticket prices can be ridiculous. If you do some digging, you can find relatively affordable tickets because according to you, if the Texas Tech game is $34, then like, what is the Houston game going to be? What is the Texas State
well,
game going to be?
yeah, you could find them for way cheaper. I think that's just like
Yeah.
the little whatever the site is that ESPN partners with, Vivid Seats.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to add? I think we've touched on a lot of stuff.
Not really, man. It was fun being back.
Yeah.
Looking forward to I might honestly take that 10 plus wins thing at 2-1. That might be my ASU long-term bet. Um, but other than that, that was just thinking out loud. Other than that, excited for the season. I think 10 wins is realistic. And I agree with you in terms of like the ceiling for a regular season performance. I think there is an undefeated ceiling for this team because of the continuity, because of everything. Obviously, a lot has to go their way. It typically doesn't in football, so I'm not saying bank on that. But I would have no problem putting a little money up for 10 wins. That's where my level of comfortability is.
Yeah, for sure. That seems pretty reasonable. So, for everyone who made it to the end of this video and got through all the fantasy football talk in the first 17 minutes, thank you. Please like and subscribe, rate and review, and as always, go Sun Devils.